It takes time.
That's okay.
Okay, we got all the technical stuff worked out. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jeff Dennis. I'm the chair of TIEQuest. I'm also I'm counsel at Fasken. The last time we got together last Thursday for the medical stream of TIEQuest, but the last time we got together for something like this for our regular stream was over 2 years ago. We ran the 2020 session and got through it. No, then the 2019 we got through, but the 2020 we got stopped halfway. We got the first live round in, and then the pandemic struck, and we went virtual both for the second round and then the final. And then last year we did it all virtual from start to finish. And this year we started virtual, but decided to go live. And so here we are. We've lost a few of our board and committee members who stayed home because they have symptoms. And so we're glad that they're not here, but we're sorry that they're not here. I think you're going to be really, really impressed with these companies. We've been through, and I'll tell you more about who wrong. So our agenda for tonight, you've had the welcome. We're going to tell you a little bit about TIE and TIEQuest and what this is all about for those of you who aren't familiar with it. And then we'll get right into the meat of it. We're going to have 6 companies present. They each have 15 minutes. Our esteemed judges, who I'll introduce in a second, will ask 5 minutes of questions, and then we'll go on to the next contestant until we do all 6. And then the judges will leave us for a few minutes, deliberate, and then we have a presentation for you to keep you entertained and interested. And then they'll come back and we'll announce a winner. That's our evening. And there's lots of food and drink, and please help yourself and stay and enjoy yourself. Thank you to our sponsors. Thanks to OneEleven for hosting us here. Silicon Valley Bank, Daryl, thank you for all your support. My firm, Fasken, the City of Toronto, Baylis Medical, who hosted the event last week at their offices for the medical stream. First Angel Capital, BDO, Startup Toronto, Hockey Stick, Tangentia Ventures, Bond Consulting, OCI, NACO, and the Biz Planner. So thank you. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't have prizes. We wouldn't have anything. So we're really grateful to our sponsors. TIE is a global organization founded by Indo-American entrepreneurs who wanted to give back. Today, there's 61 chapters in 18 countries and literally tens of thousands of members globally. Every chapter, every city has its own chapter, and they have activities. Typically, it involves mentoring, education, networking, and capital raising. And this TIEQuest contest, which is Toronto's sort of flagship event, really combines all these things, because we had, well, you'll see in a minute, we had mentoring sessions for each of these companies and the ones that aren't here. We've had multiple levels of judging. People will get money out of this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, the networking. So this is really valuable. And the whole point of it, and just keep this in mind, is we're trying to showcase these companies because we want whatever they want to come true for them. That's our goal, nothing more. Our committee, so Yashvi and I and Kanchan, we're the last 3 standing. Everybody else is home with one. Oh, and Apasana is here too. Thank you. But these people all put in a long time and effort. Something like this doesn't happen with literally 100 volunteers. And so we're very grateful to the committee and our board. So this competition is a multi-tiered competition. We started with about 50 companies back in January, February, went through a mentoring session where these companies, each one had the opportunity to talk to 2 mentors. And then we went through the first round of judging, and we took 50 to 25. We did a second round, And I'll show you where we are. Oh, I'm good, I'm too fast. But we went through this whole process where we did the first round in mid-February, we did the second round in March, and now here we are. We've had lots of volunteers. I think there were close to 60 volunteer judges and mentors who give up their time to spend an evening like this and see 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 companies do their 15-minute spiel plus questions and help us along the way. TIEQuest has really done some great things over the years. I've been involved for about 8 years. It's been around for, I think, 16. But this year, we got our first unicorn. Our 2017 winner paper raised $250 billion plus valuation. He tells a story, it's online somewhere, that he was basically out of business. And so he pitched for the survival of his business and won, took the 50,000 and applied it to make payroll and take him to live another day. So he, is very grateful to TIE. We're going to see a little video about paper in the break. We've also had some other great success stories, not billion-dollar stories yet, but they've all found their way along their journey at various stages, and we're still supporting them as we go. Our winner last week for this year's MedTech stream was a company called Marlowe. 3 young women who have created a product for women, which is a lubricated tampon. A new product, new category, and they're blowing up on TikTok and social media, and it's really sort of a hot, cool company. So keep your eyes on Marlowe. So the winner gets 25,000 plus an opportunity for 100,000 investment. We have all sorts of in-kind prizes for our winners, including our winners. So Tangentia, Fasken, BDO, TIE, and Bond Consulting all give in-kind services to help these companies along their journey. The runners-up, all 5 of our runners-up will get also in-kind services from Tangentia, Fasken, BDO, and Bond. And of course, they get their TIE Global and Charter membership as part of this. All of our 6 companies will be eligible for the TIE 50 competition, which is TIE's global competition. We find each year that our companies tend to do quite well, and many, if not all of them, make that list. That's just another way for them to get exposed to the TIE community globally, and hopefully, again, achieve whatever goals they're trying to achieve here. Now it's time for the judges. So thank you to Snita Balsera, Claudio Rojas, Matthew Lombardi, Daryl Johnston, and Dr. Shiraz Sulman. Without you guys, it wouldn't happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we get to the main event. So we've got 6 companies. They're all really different, which is kind of interesting. I've seen these pitches at least twice. 2 of them are past runner-ups in previous years. One is a past finalist. One's a space cadet. We've got, fintech, prop tech, military and police, virtual reality tech, the space cadet, home hardware, smart home hardware, and a delivery service for the ethnic grocery stores. So Indian, Persian, Jewish, whatever. So really different. I think the judges are going to have a very, very hard time. I don't know who I would pick. So let's get at it. So Stan.
Everybody. Yeah, I think this is not good. Oh, really? Digital system.
It should be fine.
So hello, everybody. My name is Max Goodell. I'm one of the co-founders of Stand. This is Bogdan Reich, our other co-founder. We are very excited to be here to talk to you about the most boring, the least sexiest problem on the planet, property management. But it is also one of the most lucrative markets, and it's a market that affects all of us, our homes. Bogdan and I, unfortunately, are former property managers ourselves. We've been in the industry for 20 plus years, and we work for the largest property management company in North America. And that inspired us to start Stan, the first AI property manager assistant. Now, our vision at Stan is we are going to be the first to autonomously manage properties using artificial intelligence, and we are on pace to do that in the next 24 months. Bogdan's going to talk to you a little bit about the product, and we'll come back to the business after.
So the problem is something we know very well, right? We know that there's a huge shortage of people. There's almost a 70% shortage, and that's going to wreck one of the most lucrative industries out there. Now, we can help solve this with technology, and we're going to show you how. So if you look at a typical property manager, obviously not very happy. Now, the average property manager is overseeing 2,500 plus homes. In perspective, that's pretty much a small village to some people, right? So a lot of property managers, they're working evenings and weekends. They're on call 24/7. They have no training. And the customer service rating in our industry is one of the worst. Those of you that are familiar with NPS, Net Promoter Score, the industry average is a -30. Those of you that don't know what NPS is, you shouldn't have a negative number. It's like getting a negative score on a test. So it's really bad. They're all overworked and underpaid, right? The average is $24 an hour. We know a guy who left the property management industry, become an Uber driver, to make more and have less stress in his life. And property managers are being fired by their clients on average every 24 months. Now, there are tools out there to help property managers. These are known as property management software tools. And these are the top ones in the game. If you're a property manager, you're using one of these. Now, the average usage rate is sub 15%. We know this because we come from the largest player that oversaw over 5 million residents. And when they launched their app, sub 15% usage as well. Now, there's no real automation. Updates by property managers are made manually. And it's not uncommon when a software company is onboarding you. They'll send one of their onboarding specialists to the property management office for 3 to 6 weeks to get you started. They're expensive for our clients. They're also set up for long-term contracts. There's no way out. And then the worst part about all this is the landscape hasn't changed in over 10 years, even from those large companies right there. But let us introduce to you the future. Stan. Stan is the first AI assistant that can autonomously manage any inquiry a property manager gets and automate the workflow of their daily tasks. So let's take a look at the evolution of Stan. In 2019, we launched with our first client, one condo on a free pilot. And we started with a very basic chatbot, where it was actually Max and I stepping in and responding to a lot of these inquiries. In 2022, we had 1,500 homes, a real AI text bot that integrated with these software portals. The best part about 2020, we didn't have to respond to any of those messages anymore. Now, in 2021, we had 15,000 homes using Stan. We launched the first AI email assistant that can respond to any email a property manager gets. Now we're really happy to share with you this year, we finally began building our vision of autonomously managing the property management industry. And what is that? Well, we have a handful of clients that are piloting the first version of our autonomous manager. And as of today, we have 221,000 homes using Stan. Now, by the end of the year, we're expecting to have our fully automated manager as a SaaS product available for managers all over the world. Now, let us walk you through the product so you're going to better understand what Stan is. So if you're a manager, all you have to do to get started is log into our website, drop your community documents, and connect your email. From there, nothing else. It's that simple for a manager. What happens next? Our AI technology parses through those documents and historical emails of a property manager to get their knowledge base of answers set up and the workflow processes ready to go. So if you're a manager now, you kick back, log into your dashboard, watch Stan do its work. Give you a good example. So the most common inquiry that a property manager gets is a maintenance request. So that would be a leaky sink or a broken door. Think about that. What happens now is resident submits an inquiry, goes to Stan. Stan then identifies the type of inquiry, identifies which trade to contact, will schedule that trade to be on site, make that repair, and verify that the work is completed, whether it's a photo or a video, that's all submitted. What happens next? We automate the payment of that invoice if it's under a specific spending limit. If it's over that spending limit, all the manager has to do is click to approve. Now, now we're going to share with you some other examples that Stan can automate. So enforcing complaints or violations. These are common for a property manager, whether it's a homeowner or resident submitting a complaint, manager walking a site, doing their inspection. That violation is now automated. What happens is that resident or that homeowner or that person will then get a violation notice, which is also saved into their unit records for the manager. Virtual access and fogs. Right now, a manager has to go and manually activate these fogs, keep record of all this, update in homeowners' information in the intercom system. Whereas now with Stan, they're able to do it all through their phone. Any type of smartphone, you're able to do it. Many bookings, managers spend a lot of time booking amenities, collecting deposits, collecting payment. Right now, Stan is able to handle that from start to finish for a manager. Parking permits, decals, visitor parking passes, all done through Stan. And the data that we have, we're able to provide reports for the board members and managers using it. The best part about it is we're on pace to be the largest repository of residential building data. So when it comes to acquisition time, it's very valuable to any investor. And then I want to share with you how our clients are using Stan right now. So we have one of our largest clients that's using Stan to increase its admin capacity by 50%. So they're going from a 2-to-1 manager to admin ratio to a 3-to-1 ratio. We have another client in the US that's using Stan as a business development tool, and they've recently won America's largest home builder as a client. Condo here locally, saving $45,000 here in Toronto by using Stan instead of hiring a full-time assistant. And we have a number of managers that have doubled their portfolio size using Stan. But the best part is we have a 94% satisfaction rate across North America, across all our users and the property managers that are using Stan.
Let's talk a little bit about the business. So the exciting thing here is this is a $600 billion market. That is huge. And it's $3 trillion globally. And when we talk about the market, we're talking about home services. So this is anything that happens in the home, property management, maintenance, or any other kind of home services like concierge, dog walking, things like that. Our target is the North American property management market, which is $99 billion. And the subsector, the addressable market we're really going after is this condominium and homeowner association market, which is $33 billion a year. The reason we're going after that is for a few reasons, actually. One, we are experts in the space. We have a sales network in the space, haven't been there. Two, a third of all Americans live in homeowners associations. And it's one of the most common housing types because property values are typically 5 to 10% higher. And the third way is it's kind of our Trojan horse. So when you win an entire community for property managers, you get to own what's in the home and control what homeowners see. So this is the way we are going to dominate the home services market by winning property management. Now, a little bit about our story. As Bogdan mentioned, we started in January 2019 with our first building. In our first year, we were proud to have won the Rogers Innovation Prize and Ground's annual DigiFest Prize. We were also TIEQuest semifinalists that year, for the record. 1 year, we grew 15 times to 1,500 homes on the platform. In our second year, this is rare for a company that young, we were awarded an IRAP research grant for the work we were doing in AI property management and real estate, and we entered the US. 99% of our clients are in the US. That is really where we focus. We're just not living there because our wives and babies won't let us move. And we grew another 10 times in year 2, 15,000 homes on the platform. That is triple the size of the average property management company in Toronto. We raised a $500,000 angel round on a SAFE agreement from executives in the management space. Our current investors use 3. One is the CEO of the largest West Coast management company. One is the CEO of San Francisco's largest property management company, who's also a former Silicon Valley Bank executive. And another is the CFO of a leading management company in the US. And we were approved for our second IRAP research grant. And we were entered into the NRC's IP Assist program and we started the patent filing application process. And earlier this year, we are proud to say we surpassed the 220,000 mark in terms of homes on the platform. Our run rate is now over $1 million and counting. And this year, we also won the 3 largest property management companies as clients and started a partnership with one of those groups to begin rolling out a paid version of our autonomous model. What makes Stan a smart investment is quick growth, low acquisition costs, and high customer value, lifetime value. Our month-over-month growth this year has been 45%. That's going to continue and grow the rest of the year with what we have in the pipeline. Our average customer lifespan is 2+ years. We say plus because a lot of our clients have only been with us for 2 years. So every day that lifespan is growing. We're operating an 86% gross margin, which is great for B2B SaaS companies. And now our customer lifetime value in terms of dollars is just shy of $61,000. Again, that's growing every year. Whereas our acquisition costs are only $4,400. So when we look at that ratio, this is what's exciting. Our lifetime value to acquisition cost is 14 times. This makes us a prime acquisition target because whether it's us investing or another company acquiring Stan, every dollar spent on customer acquisitions translates to $14 in gross profit. Now, how do we go from $1 million+ run rate to $100 million? We'll tell you how. The cool thing is we can do it with the homes we have on the platform now. This is how many homes are using Stan right now. We're growing 10 to 15 times a year, so we're expecting to be over 1 million homes by end of the year. Even if we had these many homes, we'll show you how we get there. So we earn about 50 cents a home a month. We don't charge per unit, we charge per community, but when you work it out, that's kind of where we're at. The real earning potential in this industry starts at about $50 a home a month. That's what's exciting. Where the heck does that come from? We'll show you. Property managers earn $25 per home per month on average. We know that because that's what we used to charge when we were property managers. And that's kind of the going average across the board. When we've got our fully autonomous model out there, we'll be able to earn that or in excess of that because we'll be providing a superior service. And the other exciting part is when you start scaling the number of homes, you open up a whole other world for ancillary revenue opportunities. Here you see a few opportunities like insurance, cable and internet, maintenance, home services, Airbnb rentals. These are all things that we can begin to earn off because we really own what's happening in the home itself. We haven't even included payment processing for your fees as well. And what's really exciting is you're going to meet some really cool companies tonight like Dwello, Smart Cocoon, Tasteboard. These are also companies who we can help grow by getting them into the home and to consumers. So when you kind of reverse engineer the numbers, $50 a home at 221,000 homes, but again, we'll be bigger than that. You're talking about a $130 million run rate just with our current clients today. Now, a little bit about us, as we mentioned, Bogdan and I come from First Service Residential, the largest property management company in North America, based here in Toronto. We are former property managers. Bogdan worked in the Toronto office. I was in Vancouver. When we started with these offices, they were relatively unknown corporately, but with some initiatives we rolled out, they became the fastest growing markets once we left. Bogdan unfortunately went to University of Ottawa. I went to Real School, Ivy School of Business. And unfortunately, Prem, our lead software engineer, couldn't be here tonight because he's sick. But he graduated top of his class at Humber in computer science. He's actually the youngest faculty member. He was invited to actually come back and teach computer science. So he does that part-time. And he worked on AI projects for Mitsubishi before joining Stanford. We are also excited about creating new tech opportunities for youth in Toronto. We know there's this big brain drain of tech talent, and we want to reverse that. So we're proud to say 100% of our associates are youth, 83% of our team are newcomers to Canada, and we've got a partnership with Youth Employment Services where anytime we post a job, it goes to disenfranchised youth in the GTA. We've made some really successful and fruitful hires out of that. Looking at the competition quickly, you are not going to find much if you Google AI property management. You'll see here that we are the youngest of kind of these three companies, or four if you count us. One of them is already out of business. We're the youngest, but we have the most units by a factor of more than 10 in some cases. We don't come across these companies very often because we actually work in the biggest property management market in North America. We serve all property types, whereas they're primarily rental focused companies, more for kind of leasing and specifically service requests in the UK only. We've raised the least amount of money, which means there's a lot of space on the cap table for future growth. And if you divide acquisition, number of homes by investment, we're the most efficient for our investors. It costs $3 a home acquisition wise for investors to stand, whereas you're paying $250 to $600 a home with others. And we're the only company of the bunch that has some IP in progress with our patents. Like I mentioned, we did a $500,000 angel round. We're preparing for a $10 million Series A, roughly in the next 24 months to accelerate the growth of our autonomous model. And our homework for the next 24 months is we want to get to $6 million run rate. We've been doubling and tripling our sales every year, so we're on pace. Get to 1 million homes, which we're on pace to do this year. Launch our autonomous prototype, which we're also on pace to do this year, and begin our ancillary revenue streams. So we'd love for you to choose Stan this year and really help us change the way that properties are managed. Thank you.
Usual, guys, great presentation. Judges, questions?
I'm happy to
Go ahead.
kick off. So really great presentation. I love the plug for the Ivy Business School as a fellow alumnus. It's what I'm thinking about here is the pricing sensitivity. And so you're essentially targeting $50 a month, and I get that it's a great value prop, but right now, could there be some sensitivity in terms of pricing, given that, as you identified, $25 per home per month is the average?
So that's what we expect to earn, not necessarily what we are going to see with our clients. You have to understand that right now, property management is really overpriced, especially for a lot of smaller communities, which typically make up the market because you have that labor component. We are removing that labor component. What's really unique about the autonomous model, the folks prototyping right now, is they're effectively doing our price testing for us because we're kind of giving them the product, and then they're going up to their clients, supplying labor, and saying, okay, what can we charge for this? Right, so they're actually going to test the market for us, but that's the going rate with the service the way it is. We expect that that's kind of like our floor, and what the ceiling will be, we'll kind of let them test that. Yeah. Yes.
Great presentation. I know we've had a chance to catch up many times before.
Yeah.
So amazing to see the growth that has happened. So two questions kind of related to that. Can you tell us a bit more about the go-to-market strategy and what were some like key learnings that you gathered out of that process?
Oh, yeah, for the autonomous bugs, we were kind of earlier days. So the go-to-market for us, like the challenge with getting a new model like this into the industry is really having like the managers to be able to do it. So our focus has been on going after companies, one, who share the same values, but two, who have good managers who can actually give this to their people and say, okay, take this to your clients. We've always kind of envisioned, when we talked about this early on, is, hey, maybe we'd be kind of the Uber of property management, where you live on one platform, Stan, but managers can be anyone. You don't have to come from a property management background anymore. So we're looking for partners who can provide that. And we found that and converted those partners into investors. So now there's actually a vested interest. We kind of wanted to tie into Stan. So now there's actually a vested interest in these folks pushing out the autonomous model because it benefits them, and we're starting to see that.
Not to mention with those clients that we're piloting with, a number of them, including all of our clients that we're not piloting with as well. The challenge that they have is they have so many of these communities coming to them. They're these smaller communities that they don't manage. So people are coming in for a request for proposal and they're turning it down. All of them. And the problem is they don't have the means to be able to manage it right now. With this autonomous model, they're going to have the ability to manage them remotely. That was the biggest challenge for all the feedback that we got. That was kind of light bulb results. Now can you get the engines could have this autonomous version built out now?
Yes.
What are you, thanks for a wonderful presentation. What are the barriers to entry for you? Like, what prevents a big firm starting off something like this? And do you have any patents on your product?
Yeah, so the patents, I'll answer the second one first. So the patents are in progress. We just started with Bearskin Bar, getting kind of that all together. We just got entered into the IP assist program. So that is in progress. We're starting the work on that. And in terms of the barriers to entry and why others haven't kind of entered it, one, it's unknown. And two, we get asked that a lot. This is not on the outlook of it. This is not a consumer looking business. Like you're talking about a business where the legislation varies state to state and province to province. So big companies don't want to get into that and have to have 50 to 60 different business nodes to be able to win there. Two, it's not consumer facing. You have to win property managers to get into home services, and no one's willing to put that through. They have the same kind of challenges with the labor shortages and existing technology. So for them to be able to do that, especially because the market is so fragmented from property management market, is not as easy as one would think. And again, you don't have that consumer component that most big companies look for.
Daryl? Yeah, and a good presentation, as everybody has said, guys. Congrats. Just curious in terms of your revenue. Love to unpack that a little bit more. You mentioned you're going from 1 to 6. Are you saying you're doing that just by increasing pricing, or are you bringing in partners? Are you introducing new services that are going to be valued more? How do you get there initially?
That's purely with our current subscription revenue. So we haven't factored in any ancillaries. That's not the increase in pricing we'll see from the autonomous model. That's just like today, if we did nothing different, that's what it is. Our focus right now too is not on maximizing price, it's on maximizing homes. Our leverage and our success doesn't come from the revenue side right now, it comes from the homes. Right? If we keep on the trend that we will be we will be bigger than the largest property management company in 18 months. Then you have true power. I mean, we could give Stanaway for free, and so we're earning 10 times as much as the next biggest company, just based on those ancillaries, and you could literally choke out an entire software. Yes.
You said that the satisfaction rate, I think, was 94%.
Yes.
What's the renewal rate year over year?
Well, right. I mean, the last 2 years, it's been 98%. Like we've only ever lost clients because they've lost their clients. So that's like, we haven't lost a client because they said, oh yeah, this sucks, we don't want to use it anymore. It's usually because, like Bogdan mentioned, property management companies get fired every 2 years, usually when they lose a client. We don't hold them to the subscription because it's just part of doing business.
Guys, unfortunately, we're out of
Yeah, sure, thank
time.
you.
Great presentation. Who's next? All right, so judges, you've got a couple minutes to do your thing. We'll be ready in a minute just while we get the next presentation going. This is MagnaStar. I called them space cadets, but you'll do a much better job of describing it. But my understanding, I saw the presentation once. It's it protects satellites in space, right? That's what I got it. So pretty interesting technology, very different from obviously some of the other companies. And Jacqueline is going to get going in a minute, so I'll just leave it there.
Perfect, thank you so much. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jacqueline Good. I'm the founder and CEO of MagnaStar. We are a space company. We work both in space and defense. And I'm so thrilled to be here today. It's been a really big treat for me to go through the past couple months. And just to raise of hands in terms of like 1 to 5, how much does everybody know about space? That's it. 4s, 5s, 2s, 1s, 2s, 1s and 2s, 1. Okay, fantastic. It's always good whenever I'm
Star Trek,
talking.
right?
Exactly, yes, you're basically building Star Trek. That's our business model. Thank you so much. So yes, I always like to that I'm getting space talk in a new topic for a lot of folks, but it is increasingly growing and it is huge across multiple parts of the world. And we're here to talk about space as well as in Canada and our global efforts. So a little known fact, 60% of satellites in space right now are completely non-functional. They are in outer space. This is literally the image of our planet and all the satellites that are around it. That's only zoomed up. That's in low Earth orbit. When you zoom out, there's even more of them. There are currently about 6,000 items in space. Again, 60% are inactive. And that puts all this industry, specific satellite industry, which is worth $310 billion at risk, as well as our lives. And the reason for this is that there is so much in space right now and so much going into space. There are 57,000 satellites going up within the next decade, that it gets so crowded that these satellites are actually at risk of hitting one another or hitting debris, which then goes into that satellite and destroys it from the inside out. And that is what we're trying to protect against. This is specifically critical because these satellites are actually running our day-to-day operations. Everything from cell phone service. The only reason you have cell phone service is from space. The only reason you can get home tonight using your GPSs is from space. The reason that we know there's nuclear activities going on around the world is because of imagery from space. All the climate change radiation action is imagery from space. These are high value items that are worth roughly $250 million a piece for the big telecommunication ones, and that we're trying to protect because those signals that are coming down to Earth is what gives us life as we know it today. And that noise of those signals coming down to Earth, as well as the traffic, the debris, are at an all-time high and only growing at an exceptional rate. They're growing right now, and what we're seeing is that the current solution satellite operators are focusing on, if they get this notice from Space Force that they might get hit by something. They have about 2 weeks to decide if they want to maneuver around that object, stay on course and hit it, and that's only if they have propulsion left in their satellite to actually move around the object. If they have no propulsion left, they have no fuel left in their gas tank, they end up just getting hit and hoping that their satellite's okay. Again, imagine sending an object worth $250 million into space and just crossing your fingers and hoping it survives an accident. It's very unfeasible, especially with all the stuff that's going into space. And if we want to make this a space that's sustainable for the future generations, future to use on an ongoing basis, new space stations that are coming up, exoplanet habitats that are being built, this is this problem we have to deal with today. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to solve it. So here at MagnaStar, we are specifically focused on protecting the signals, so the signal performance at communication level down to Earth, and protecting the asset itself. How we do that is we're actually aggregating all the global operators around the world to have their information of where they're pointing their signals to assist them in finding new greenfield opportunities to downlink on an ongoing basis. Meaning that if you have a satellite, let's say a Starlink satellite and a Telsat satellite that are both pointing at the exact same place on Earth to downlink their information, provide cell phone service, internet to rural parts of Canada. And if they're both pointing in the exact same area, that antenna that's capturing the information gets so clogged that it's unable to interpret who's actually sending the information down. And so it ends up degrading the overall quality of service. What we are doing is specifically sourcing those points of interference before they occur and rerouting the signals to available ground stations within this network. We call this matrix operations. We assess the overall, all the satellites that are within surrounding Earth today, and then we actually have them built in a matrix, and we suggest on where to downlink on an ongoing basis. We build on this with our patented now technology, which we're very excited about, which is specifically around magnetic field technology. So we are both protecting and enabling the satellite operators to have increased performance of downlinking, as well as the safety of the object itself through protecting that object. And what does this actually mean to satellite operators? Through developing this type of ecosystem, we have seen in conversations with satellite operators, we've connected with many of them at this point, we have seen that they expect an increase of 30% in revenue year over year by finding these opportunities to downlink more often. And that equates to about $2 billion per year for a single satellite operator, and there are 200 of them. And that's just per year on an ongoing basis. This is huge money, And there's only a few people actually in the space who have the capacity to work on this, which makes it a very, very wise investment, in my opinion. So specifically, adjacent to that, we actually have our specific hardware software solution, which is $192 billion of the savings, because these satellite operators no longer have to maneuver around specific objects. They can stay in their orbital track, stay where they actually want to be, and no longer have to continuously maneuver around these specific objects. So again, major cost savings for satellite operators on an ongoing basis. They can focus on really what matters, and then we're driving revenue for increased downlinking opportunities and making it available to all operators around the world. Where we fit strategically, and this is something I love to talk about, because we're based in Canada, we actually have this neutrality factor, which most satellite companies, space companies in general, do not have. This neutrality factor is because we work in defense. All the aerospace engineers, and I've done the research on this when I was building this company, Canada has trained over 25,000 aerospace engineers who are currently working in other industries in Canada because they're unable to get jobs. And we saw this firsthand, actually. We put up 2 job postings and received over 150 engineers applying to work in our company because they want to work in space, something that they're dying to do. They went, they studied this, they're primed, they're ready to do it, but there's actually a limited number of jobs in aerospace, specifically outer space, that they have the capacity to work in. This puts us in a really good position as well because of the US has ITAR restrictions. Everything that's being built in the US can only be sold into the US because of these very regional restrictions, because it's defense tech. In Canada, we do not have those. Excellent. We do not have those, so we can sell this into the US, we can sell this into the European Union, we can sell this into Asia, we have been advised we can sell this into Russia at this time, but we can sell around the entire world without the type of restrictions, which puts us in a very unique position as a neutral party to manage all this data and infrastructure, which we are the best at. On the other side of that, we're actually focusing on protecting the physical asset versus avoidance tactics. Majority of our competitors are focused on avoiding the asset, avoiding debris, avoiding radiation, whereas we specifically can actually protect the asset itself, everything from signal interference, radiation, small fragments of debris, and dust. So we have this omnipresent approach that we're focusing on right now. We are building the software to be deployed in September, which we're very excited about. And this software, again, we're aggregating all the different sources of information from these satellite operators around the world. And then we're building the hardware in the background because we see that as being a more long-term stance. So our immediate go-to-market is with software, and then long-term increase that moat is with the hardware. We're following a very similar model as Apple. So for instance, they made a health app on your iPhone where you can track your fitness and your water intake and your food intake and all that great stuff. And then they made the Apple Watch, which does it all automatically for you. We're following the exact same trajectory where we're building the software first, hardware alongside, and also solidifying those relationships, specifically with regulators, that we've been doing for the past couple months. This is our team. So we are quite new. We did incorporate 4.5 months ago now. Within the past 4.5 months, I founded the company through a program called Entrepreneur First. Within Entrepreneur First, they had 1,400 people apply to that program. They selected 70 of us. They ended up investing in 21, and I was the one. They have only invested within their experience of the past 10 years running this program. They've only invested in 10 solo founders within the longevity of the company. And they've said that they either end up being their most successful 1% of the 1% companies, or they do absolutely nothing. And so we plan to be on that side of the horizon. We made our first hire, Michael. Michael has 5 years experience in building rockets, rocket engines, equipment to go into outer space. He also has 8 years of customer experience, which is very great for us because we can use him in a lot of different ways, which is very typical in startup life. We then actually made a partnership with the University of Regina. And the University of Regina, this is actually the program chair, so the program chair of the entire electrical engineering department. They found us and decided that they wanted to work with us because they believed so strongly in what we were focusing on. So we have 2 people from the University of Regina who will be joining us full-time in May. In addition, out of the 150 engineers that we found who applied for our company, we hired 3 of them. So we hired a geophysicist specifically, we hired a mechatronics engineer, and we also hired a software engineer. The mechatronics engineer also has software development experience, and so we plan on using him in a couple of different ways as well. This is how we've grown our team. And my experience myself, I actually wore on my pins today. In space, wearing pins is a very big deal. You get pins for every single mission that you're a part of. So for instance, missions going to space, we have our pins for that ready to rumble. And my pins I have on today are from working with NASA last summer on a 3D printing project. I was sponsored by the European Space Agency to train for space and space engineering. So I have my ESA pin. And then I also have my mission pin when we did our training for space. I also have 4 degrees and I have built and launched 4 software products into market and led the technical development of over $10 million in sales. And then our advisors speak for themselves. We have developed very strong relationships with our specific advisors. We have advisors, everyone from Grant Anderson, who is the CEO of another space company worth about $80 million at this point, as well as Juan, who is the former head and president of the International Space University, Kathleen, who works as a mechanical designer at Rocket Lab. She's been guiding us this entire time. We also have very strong mentors as well with Michael Play. He was the former head of and CEO of ComDev, satellite component technology company that he sold. Jason Parker is one of the largest satellite operators in Canada. He currently runs 17 satellites in outer space and leads all the telecommunication. That's why we have cell phone service today. We also have our leadership advisor, Sally, who actually brought public a semiconductor business, hardware business, for over $100 million in sales. And this is our traction today. As I mentioned, we were founded 4.5 months ago. So we are quite young, but we have accomplished quite a bit in our trajectory. So we incorporated the company, we made our first hire, we filed our patent. That was the first thing. We need to ensure that we were solidifying our IP within the market because we have had a lot of interest on the IP. We've had 2 startups within the space sector actually write letters of intent to purchase our tech. We've spoken to over 250 space professionals on the technology, validating the technology, the feasibility of it, and ensure that the market was there and ready for us. Out of the 5 top global satellite operators, we have 3 of them on board at this time to join our consortium of that matrix operation network that we're building. We have ES investment. That was very exciting. It's a very small investment that got us going and ensured that we were ready to rumble. We had the partnership with the University of Regina, and then we launched the company. This was again socially launched the company. Within that first launch, within the past 4.5 months, we have received over 20,000 impressions within social channels. We're very excited about. We found that in speaking to these 250 space professionals, we also have new applications for our technology, so specifically Mars transit applications. When they want to go to Mars and build these habitats on Mars, they want to have gravity no matter where they go. We are building the capacity for them to have gravity no matter where they go. This actually goes into the fundamentals of how we're building our tech. Earth at its core is a magnetic sphere. It gives us protections against radiation, meteorites, everything like that. We are replicating that same technology in every satellite and every object going into outer space in order so we can have gravity and we can live like we do today in any planet that we decide to venture to. We also have a number of disaster recovery items or companies who are focused on this within our program as well. So specifically, the reason why space is so critical is because cities like Gala, Nunavut, who they had an issue in 2013 with their satellite malfunction for some reason, and all of a sudden they couldn't take money out of the ATM, they couldn't get gas, they couldn't pay their employees, they couldn't get groceries. The entire city went dark. And this is how prevalent satellites are in our day-to-day lives, specifically in rural areas like Nunavut. It's super critical infrastructure that we need to be investing in and protecting so that issues like that do not happen for our rural communities. We had over 150 engineers apply to work at our organization. We hired 3 of them, and then the lunar dust opportunity came our way. Because we can protect against lunar dust, one of the biggest issues facing the CSA, NASA, and ESA is specifically protecting their equipment from lunar dust. It's sticky, it gets on everything, and we have a solution that's been proven within empirical evidence of how we can solve it. And then the noise signal, specifically we're working through as well. We have estimated that we have generated over $4 million of market value in our first 4 months of operations. We also have connections with the Canadian Space Agency where they've offered to provide us testing facilities when we're ready to test our tech in outer space come February. What we are asking for today and what we need your help with, and specifically where the TIEQuest funds would go to, is enabling us to establish the Toronto base. We have right now, we were working on Mars, we were built on Mars for the past 6 months. What we're working towards right now is actually building out that Toronto base and putting the capital towards that office space where we can bring in all those engineers to work through the hardware, work through the software, and build as a team. And that's what our ask is of you today, is to help us in financing that specifically. We then, on the other side of that, we'll be launching our software in September. Hardware is set to be tested in November and then launch in February. And then we see recurring revenue on the other side of that. Some quotes that we have as well, I can say all these things and you can believe me, but these are also experts who you can believe as well. So we have very prominent figures within Canadian space. Christine, who said that extending the life of an asset, which is exactly what we're doing, from 5 years to 10 years would be hugely beneficial. That's powerful computing and database work. That's what we're paying for. Again, that's from Canada's largest satellite operating company, who is on board with exactly what we're working on. And then you're building this like Elon built SpaceX. It's probably one of the greatest things that we could hear as an early entrepreneur because of the tactics and the way that we're building this company. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. What a great presentation. So judges, who's got the first question?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I'd love to hear more about your background. So, you know, and I'm thinking about the Elon Musk and SpaceX connection in the sense that I don't believe he has the level of professional education that you do, and yet he's done a lot of great things. But I'd love to hear more about your space engineering background, what school you went to, what inspired you to jump into it, and how that kind of intersects with your journey prior to this.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I just grab a water?
Sure.
Is that okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. So yes, you are correct. When Elon started SpaceX, he had a limited scope into.
You had to read books.
He knew how to read books. And actually the guy, Jim Cantrell, who is one of our assistants as well, he's one who went to Russia with Elon to help him buy rockets. And then they promptly said no. Jim's also working with us in building out this company. He actually built on the list and he gave me that list to go to the reference library on an ongoing basis and read those books. Because that's exactly what he said. He's like, you have to up on these specific areas of research. This is how you do it. I'm going to help you do that. The exact same thing that I helped you on build SpaceX. So we do have him on board as well. I would say for my specific educational background, I did my undergrad in psychology and statistics. I then have degrees in Chinese, computing, and space engineering. So I did my computing work at the University of Toronto. I did my Chinese work at Shanghai Dashui, which is a university in China. I did my space engineering work at the International Space University while being sponsored by ESA, the European Space Agency.
And what led you to space?
Oh, so formally to this, actually, I was leading the data and infrastructure. So my background is in data and infrastructure. I've been working in data for the past decade, and I was leading the data infrastructure and strategy for OMERS, the pension fund. And so I was at this pension fund on this call with all these capital markets people, and we were helping them leapfrog capital markets into the future. This was the whole initiative, OMERS Next, and we had these black backgrounds on, and it was very cool and space-like. And at that point, I had already been reading space books and listening to space podcasts and painting about space, and my entire brain was thinking about space. And I was on this call and I was talking to them and I was like, wow, guys, it really feels like we could all be on different planets right now. Imagine we were all on different planets and we have these central problems that we're trying to work towards, but we have all our own missions and our own planetary issues to work through as well. And it really feels like we're in outer space. Like it feels like we could all be working on different planets. And imagine that was the future. Imagine we had civilizations and all these different planets around our universe, like throughout the entire universe. And we're all connecting to focus on humanitarian issues on an ongoing basis. That's a future that we have. And the only way to get there is to protect the assets going into outer space. And no matter where we go, we have that kind of lifestyle. But that really happened. And then I hung up the phone. They're like, yeah, Jacqueline, we get it. You're really into space. It's really cool. But I hung up the phone and I was like, no, I'm not done. I want to go pursue this. So I connected with everybody I knew who worked in space. One of them was our advisor. All three of them told me that if I wanted to go from data tech to space tech, I would need to go to the International Space University. It is like the premier school. I talked to the folks at MIT, talked about going to their program, but they're like, no, go to the International Space University. If you want to build a space company, this is the best way to do it. And so I went to the International Space University, I applied, I got the sponsorship from ESA. And then I ended up applying for this entrepreneurship program as well, Entrepreneur First, which is a very credible program to go through to build a company, but I accepted that as well. And then it was all about focusing on Canada's natural resources. So Canada has an abundance of nickel, which is amazing. So much nickel that it's actually built into our dimes. Our dimes are magnetic because they're made of Canadian nickel. It's being mined in 4 Canadian provinces. And the amazing part about that is the magnetic sphere of Earth is actually in none of it. It makes us a very sort of specific area in the world where we have access to magnetic material. And if we're able to build, and again, I was at the International Space University and had all these rocks that came from outer space. And we knew they came from outer space because they were magnetic. A lot of the magnetic material comes from outer space. And that's, we know it comes from outer space. It's because it has iron and nickel properties. And if we're going to build these exoplanet habitats on Mars, on the moon, anywhere like that, we need to actually be building with the materials that we can use when we get there. So if we're building rockets, if we're building satellites, if we're building space stations, let's use the nickel that we have and the iron that we have to build the rockets. So when we get there, we can actually reuse those materials in building exoplanet habitats. That's where the idea came from. Yes.
So I heard sort of the equivalent of an air traffic controller in space. Do you have to have a critical mass of clients to be able to really provide value, or can you start providing value right from client one and then on? And then I'm going to just ask about hardware. Can you unload the cost of your hardware to your clients, or is that something you'd have to pick up yourself?
It's a great question. Yes. So on the signal side, yes, we are building that network. What we're hearing actually, what we've done analysis on, as long as we get 10% of the market, we have it. As long as we get 10%, we can demonstrate that value, then we are good to go in actually launching this, which we've already received, and actually getting 3 of the top 5 on board at this time who say, please build this. We've been wanting someone to build this for a very long time. You have the expertise in data infrastructure. You've built 4 software products before and launched into markets around the world. You are actually the person who has the capacity to do this. We need you to build this for us. And so they've actually been really asking us to build it for them. And then as I speak to the regulators, the ITU is just the UN regulation body who manages all the spectrum work around the world. So how satellites communicate down to Earth. And they've also said that, yes, we are fully on board with you building this. We will support you and guide you in building this because it's so critical for space in the next 2, 5, 10 years to actually keep it functional. On the hardware side, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Last question, we're almost out of time.
So I'll just, yeah.
Sorry, what does success look like? Not like revenue success, not sales success, like impact wise, what does success look like to you?
I think that success for us is launching this hardware, and well, specifically on the hardware side.
Ask that, like bigger, like if everything on your journey works as you plan for it to work, what does it look
Yes.
like?
Okay, great. So in the year 2040, I think you'll know this. It's just so much fun. In the year 2040, we have a very specific time within our generation where 5 of the planets will be aligned. And that's critical because on the Voyager spacecraft in the 1970s, specifically when that 8 planetary alignment moment happened, was the best opportunity for them to take pictures of all 8 planets all at once. And we have one opportunity within our generation in 2040 to actually have the similar kind of planetary alignment, with 5 planets aligned all the way from Earth's moon to Jupiter. When that occurs, we are planning within the company itself to launch humans to outer space and take a trip specifically to Jupiter to do deep space exploration with humans. That is success.
Well,
Yeah.
I would just ask any questions. That was fantastic. What a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
So our next presenter is Wello. So we're just going to get set up. Judges, do your thing.
Thank
People to hear questions. It should play.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Welcome. Good to see you. So we have Varun Luke. From Wello. Now, apparently we've got your colleagues on Zoom, so they're going to participate during the Q&A. So we'll see if that works out. But, if you judges are ready. ISS. One time.
Do I get a cue? When do you want to start?
Are you guys ready?
Ready to go?
Whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Varun Madhok. I'm the CEO of Gala. So before we get started, just by a show of hands, how many of you have ever rented a home here in Canada? Now, when you were renting, did you ever have to show a credit score to be approved? By show of hands, sizable number, right? Now, that's the backstory to Gala. When I came to Canada some 20 years ago, I couldn't find a place to rent. I didn't have a credit score. So I was living in this rooming house, right in that little window over there. I was paying $400 just for that privilege, sharing the space with 6 other people. And the sad thing is, I actually had a job with IBM at that time. I had been vetted by the RCMP. So, I mean, I'm a perfect credit risk, like so to say, but I couldn't find a place to stay. And that is the problem we are trying to address with Dwello. Not only are people who are very good financial prospects not eligible for basically credit products because they don't have a credit profile, there's also a lot of, it's affecting the economy because there are a lot of businesses who just don't have people like I available to them as potential customers because I did not have a credit score. And it's not just newcomers to Canada, people with poor credit, people who've had delinquencies, maybe they've had issues. So what can we do? And that is the problem that Dwello is looking to solve. Our purpose is really very straightforward. We look at renters. We just look at their rent payments, their on-time payments of that amount, a significant portion of their take-home income coming in, and we make sure they get credit for that to their credit score. That's the key proposition. That's the value to our user community. On the other side, on the flip side, the Canadian businesses who could benefit with the visibility to these prospects, we make these available to them. So it's a two-way relationship. We make the handshakes possible, and our aim is to make equitable access to credit for all Canadians. That's our mission. A little more about how we make money. Fundamentally, that's our business. What's a business model? So we make money on the tailored offers from our partners and on platform subscriptions from the landlords or property managers. It's a simple model. Actually, it's a freemium model. In principle, any renter, anyone who's renting or anyone who's making their place available for rent can be part of the Dwello platform on a freemium model. But we provide value-add services, and on that, it's masked over here. But landlords and property managers can pay $2 to $5 per unit per month to us. That's part of our model. And when the credit score starts improving, we bubble up offers from our partners and our local institutions available to the user community. And when these offers are made and people sign up, so the users are coming to the Dwello platform, they're coming through and they are signing up to our partner institutions, we get a commission from that from a financial institution, which ranges anywhere from $5 to $50. So in a nutshell, we make money from our partners and from platform subscriptions. The audience here for our product is, if you look at the total market, there's $2.1 billion in referral fees paid by Renters Canada-wide. Out of that, we're targeting just the no or bad credit renters through the Dwello platform to help them improve their credit score and get access to better credit offerings. And that's $630 million. Now, within that, within the next 5 years, we expect to hit $90 million through our current model, and that's the total addressable market. Now, how do we compare with the other businesses in the market? Our business model is fairly similar to what you see with the Borwell, the Mint, and the Credit Karmas of the world. But there are some distinctions. Number one, we are the only vendor out there who's guaranteed the eyeballs. The renters will sign into our platform to see whether their rent payment has gone through. We are guaranteed at least one eyeball per renter per month, which is what the other companies don't have. And the other thing we have is we also know the physical address of this audience. What that opens up is another opportunity for us through local advertising. We can even do print flyer promotions to them. That's an advantage we have because borrowers and the mints, they don't know where their user community lives. We actually know, and that actually opens us to a new opportunity. And then what is the barrier to entry for these companies to come into the Dwello model? Firstly, we have been working in this space. We have the relationships with Interact, RBC. We also have a moat around the fraud mitigation processes. We've been doing this. Our prototype has been in the works for over a year. So there is a moat that we've developed around this. Now the team, there are three of us. My colleagues couldn't join for medical reasons. They're on the call. I'm the CEO. I've had 2 exits in the past. My responsibilities are fundraising and partnership sales. My colleague, Chris Chan, he has experience working with Citi, Equifax, and TransUnion. He's managing the infrastructure. He's the credit guy. Musa is the people person. His responsibility is user acquisition, making sure people are happy with the product and improving a net product score. So those are the three of us that we are building Dwello together. Now, user acquisition. This question has been actually asked by some of our mentors in the past. What's the cost of acquisition? Now, one way is, of course, to go the paid route, and we are testing that. But really, the biggest opportunity is to work with partners like property managers, immigration counselors, and credit counselors. I'll talk more to this on the next page, but we are already talking with property managers. There is an advantage. We bring something to the table here in the sense that we help increase tenant retention. There's a reason why they would want to work with Dwello. And the immigration counselors, credit counselors want to work with us because our mission aligns with theirs. We are talking with credit counselors, and I'll give you a couple of examples on the next page. And their mandate is to get people to consolidate their debt and get them to a better credit score. It's like a match made in heaven. That's why it's in their interest to forward their audience to us. And that lowers our cost of acquisition and increases our user adoption. So where are we right now? Over the last year, now the history of this is fairly new in Canada. Equifax opened up the credit file in 2020, the peak of the pandemic. We saw an opportunity, we moved into this space. 2021, we did an alpha. We had a panel of 150 renters to see the impact that would be affected on the credit score based on on-time rent payments. Over a year, we monitored what was happening. We also set up the relationships with RBC, Equifax, and Interact. In February 2022, we had validated the product. We started the relationships with financial institutions like Addy, basically challenger banks, plastics, Neos, Mogos, and all, to promote their product through the Dwello platform. Now, as of April and May, we effectively launched in March. KW Property is signing up. They're bringing in 2,000 tenants to our platform. We're talking with Consolidated Credit in essentially promoting our offering to their audience, which will be done through newsletters. And our target is hitting 3,000 monthly recurring revenues as of April-May timeframe. Our target for the end of the year is 30,000 renters, $500,000 in annual revenues. In the next 3 years, targeting 1.2 million and $21 million revenues just in Canada. Now, this is the current path, the financial model that I've described so far. Hitting over the next 5 years, $90 million, promoting partner banks, credit cards, getting those eyeballs, getting the acquisition, and that's our path there. But that's not all. There's more to it. One of the things that we bring to the table is an understanding of how credit score changes over time. Now, we fundamentally believe the credit modeling process is not as good as it could be. When a person is assessed, it's based on a point of time. This is what the credit score is right now. But we have an advantage. By looking at the financial information, we know which way the credit score is going. So we have the ability to make offers which can undercut the market and basically come out with financial products to serve the underbanked. That is a bigger opportunity. We go beyond where we are and actually bring new financial products for the underbanked. That's a secondary opportunity. Now, beyond that, there is the US market. Credit is an even bigger issue, or I would say an opportunity in the United States. So there is an increased factor if you go into the United States. We've looked at it, it's a technical issue. It's not the business model. It's a matter of understanding the partners, and we are looking into that. But so that is the total potential of what we are working on. And that is essentially our pitch. We started with credit for renters, but effectively, we believe we can be the standard in Canada for all renters, for all renter properties. Because like I said, it's really a freemium model. And then we have the add-on, and we are able to bring the credit for all. That's our picture. Thank you.
Question on the go-to-market strategy. Like, does it need to be a city by city, geography by geography rollout? Is that how you're thinking about it?
At this point, the way we are working, the property managers are not restricted by the geography, so we're not restricted on that front. We actually have, like, the panel we have is across Vancouver, Quebec, and the GTA. So yes, we already all over.
Do you have a plan to keep people long-term as a client? Like when they get their credit score up to the point where they can start leaving your platform, do you have another thing that you're going to pull them back and make sure you keep them there?
That's exactly actually, you're right on. The sweet spot is people whose credit score is below 700. And once that hits 730, maybe they would not be as, I agree, like there would not be that big a motivation to stay on. But that's why we plan to bring in new financial products. Now, this is all work in progress. We're talking about sweepstakes. We're talking about BNPL. We're talking about ways to get credit for rent. So these are all financial products. So there's a reason for people to stay vested and dwell in the long term. Yes, sir.
Thank you for a great presentation. There's two things I want to ask. One thing, the first one is about patents, and the second thing is, have you had any challenges with your software? Any risks, any problem tenants that you experienced? If you can elaborate on.
I'm going to see just to do a sound check. Chris, Musa, are you able to hear the questions?
I can hear the question. It cut off a little bit for the last little bit, but I could definitely hear most of the questions. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly. I'm going to repeat the question. I'm going to answer the first one and then punch to on the second to you. So the first one is, the question was from Shiraz was, do you have any patents? And our answer is we have trade secrets in the sense that we have the ability to forecast where the credit score is likely to be. This is based on the financial information and the current post. So yes, that methodology is part of our intellectual property. Now, the second question was, have you encountered any risks with handling transactions like this? So just so you know, we've been doing this over the last year. We've moved a few $1 million through our trust account. But now the question, Chris, maybe you can answer, what risks did we encounter on that front and how are we mitigating?
Well, one of the biggest risks that we had was before we established a relationship with Interac, because it's pretty easy to acquire people's account numbers in order to move money in and out. And we've actually encountered a few issues with people providing fake IDs into our system and stuff like that. We've actually built out some pretty good technology, as well as working with Interac to make sure that the funds are guaranteed and they're stable in our bank account before we disseminate the funds to our property managers and landlords. So that was obviously there was financial risk at the time, but I think that working with Interac has helped mitigate them significantly. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks very much.
Time for at least one more question. If anybody has a question.
How receptive have been the companies like Credit Karma and Equifax to dealing with people like you?
Chris, I think you led the conversation with Equifax, you and Musa. Maybe you could speak to that.
Sure. Can you repeat the question once more? It cut off for a little bit.
Question was, how receptive have companies like Equifax or Credit Karma been in talking with Dwello?
Well, Equifax they love our data. They love the idea that we're the biggest bill of the month. It's the idea of having this be a major indicator of how much money somebody has and how well that they can pay their pay things on time is a better indication than, you know, a cell phone bill or a few, especially for new immigrants and students. They might not have all the things in place that we will have by being the main rental processor for them. So I think that Equifax loves our data. So the more that we provide the type of data that we have to them, the more they are interested in talking to us, and the more interested that our partners like Mogo and Plastic are interested in the data that we have to provide for them.
Thanks very much.
Well, I think we're out of time, but a great presentation.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Presenters are Derek and Taylor from Chimera XR. Get you guys set up.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. My name is Taylor. I'm the CEO of Chimera XR. With me, my co-founder, Derek. And we help law enforcement train anywhere, anytime using virtual reality. So many of us have seen very costly use of force errors in the public eye from law enforcement in the past year, right? Hands up, who's heard of George Floyd, for example? Breonna Taylor, Justin Bork. So Justin Bork, for those of you that may be wondering, is the 2014 active shooter that happened in the East Coast. That's kind of where this story started for me. Myself and Derek come from military backgrounds. I was in the area of Moncton when the shooting happened, and there were RCMP officers working and living in the building that I was living in that responded to that call, and some of them did not come back from that call. So this is a accidental death issue in the public. This is a officer safety issue, a community safety issue that we have seen not get addressed by technology. There's billions and billions of dollars being spent on training, some of that on technology. None of that is so far really made a dent in the issue of what is tearing at the fabric of our society. So our solution is to use virtual reality with realistic use of force tools, high stress scenarios, and a scalable model to attack this problem, to approach this issue of law enforcement accessible training for these high stress scenarios to make our community safer. Our system and our model has been to build demonstration kits using virtual reality headsets like the one you see here, use of force tools and high stress scenarios in our software, and then mail it to agencies for them to test. Our system sets up in under 2 minutes and has made us a reliable, easy system for our agencies to use. We're aiming to be in more than 250 agencies in 2 years. And right now, we're being seen as one of the market leaders in a cost-effective, easy-to-use virtual reality training system for law enforcement, military, and security purposes. So we're aiming to become almost a block of virtual reality, in our terms meaning a realistic, reliable, and easy-to-use system. The hardware we built ourselves in order to match exactly what the end user sees and needs in their day-to-day work as law enforcement, military, or security. This is contrary to a lot of our competitors who think controllers are good enough. We know that there are issues I'm sure you've heard of, for example, law enforcement officer recently using their taser instead of their handgun. They meant to use their taser, but used their handgun, ended up killing somebody accidentally. So it's very important that our hardware is realistic. It's the same as what's used in law enforcement training today and in the operations on the street. We have patents ongoing right now for several components. And we have a disruptive pricing model. And why we chose that is because if you don't know, government procurement's really hard to get into. It is a slow and problematic system, especially as a startup in a new field. Virtual reality is relatively new to a lot of our prospects. So we set our price at below $10,000 in order to make sure that our agencies could purchase our system on a credit card basis, get the system in their hands, see how it saves them money. It's helping them reduce risk in training and, of course, saves lives by democratizing the information and the training they need. Our software, as I mentioned, talks about high stress scenarios. We're focused on the worst case of the worst case. This is built from a professional standpoint, from military experience, as well as we have law enforcement experts on staff. We're also consulting with the community and mental health experts to make sure that we're involving the respective parties to bring the best possible resolution to any situation, especially as we talk about de-escalation, which I'll get into a little bit later. So real quick, I'd like to show you what this looks like in our system in terms of what you would experience in virtual reality. I'm going to talk over what you're going to see here as Derek experiences it. I know it's a little bit hard to see because the lights are on. So anyway, dim the lights. No? There it is. That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, great. Okay, cool. Go ahead and start. So Derek here is going to experience a essentially traffic stop gone wrong. So he's going to get out of the car and try to engage subjects engaging him in virtual reality. He has to react, get back behind the car, and then engage what's being shown to him, right? So what's key about this situation here is that he's learning about ballistics around vehicles. More than 80% of engagements for law enforcement happen around cars, and more than half of use of force accidents or mistake of fact shootings happen in the dark, happen at night, or low light conditions. So these are the kinds of things that are difficult to train, but hit the review. Difficult to train, hard to explain and really get into in law enforcement because they don't train as much as we would like them to. And these are hard situations to practice. They're high risk, they require actors. Doing it in the dark for real with cars is almost a non-existent situation. So this is a situation where we can have a completely safe and repeatable scenario play out and see all of the true ballistics that would be involved so they can be safer as officers, which increases community safety therein. Thanks, Derek. So what about our business model? How does this work? We have an 86+% profit margin. We've built our system in a cost-effective fashion using Oculus Quest headsets and the hardware that we built to work with them. This is actually our second generation hardware that you're seeing here. We've gone through 2 generations in a year since we started. We launched our system just over a year ago. And we also have an upsell option in the software side of the house where agencies can purchase specific content or have dedicated environments for their own requirements. And we have an ever-expanding library of content, which is really useful because most of our competitors kind of forget that we need to have a lot of content in order to drive training, not just from a corporate point of view, but from the experts in the industry. We have the most experts in the industry on our side working with us, primarily because we went out and and evangelize, essentially talk to all of them, show them what's going on, and they agreed to participate in our project. The current traction. So we launched this product just over a year ago. Right away, the RCMP were our first client. So they purchased some systems at the national level. Since then, we have 5 more national agencies that have jumped on board. So we have the UK military, the Canadian military, we have the ATF in the States, we have Customs and Border Protection, Department of Justice, the US Marshals, one of our best clients. They use our system in 3 parts of the United States for vehicle interdiction training, which is, again, a difficult, costly thing for them to train normally. And this allows them to access that training when they need it, where they need it. And the next year, we're looking at continuing our relationship with the FBI. We've been doing testing on 3 occasions now with the FBI, working on everything from the ballistics element to the de-escalation and verbals that we're working on now. So we're looking at field office deployments in the next year. Of course, our international sales is a big thing. We just had 3 new distributors come online for Australia, the EU, and the UK. So we're looking at some of the national and state level agencies in those regions as well, particularly VicPol coming on board because virtual reality is becoming a clear alternative, a clear better alternative to what they currently have for training. I mentioned these distributors here on the left because not only are they helping us sell into these new regions, but also they're experts in their own domain. So we've picked simulation, law enforcement, military experts as our distributors. For example, Centrifuge. This is a company that has created the curriculum for vehicle tactics and anything to do with vehicle interactions for law enforcement that has been adopted by the RCMP, the FBI, among other large state and federal agencies. So they are the ones driving our law enforcement content, and they are our distributor in the United States. Our technology partners, we don't just stop with the virtual reality headset and say that's enough. We've been looking at everything from how do we measure the success or failure of an individual officer from EEG, for example, using brain activity as a way to measure their performance. So we're pushing the boundaries. We're also looking at mixed reality, augmented reality, which is why Vario is a really useful partner, really important partner for us. And we're going to continue pushing those boundaries as technology keeps evolving in the hardware space, especially. So what's the competition like and how do we kind of stack up? So 25 years of screen simulators, that's the kind of era that Derek and I came from. A screen simulator meaning image like this, and you're going to interact with this 2D image, talk to them, try to de-escalate the situation, shoot if you need to, but it's all you facing one direction, this screen, right? If you're looking at this screen, where are you not looking? Everywhere else. And of course, all of our clients are dealing with a 360-degree threat, right? Everything around them needs to be part of their situation. So screen systems are on the way out. That's pretty well established, but those are on the map here. And then the virtual reality systems. We have some competitors here. None are as mobile. None can set up under 2 minutes. None can work outside. Our system can work outside in some conditions. And we've been told by federal agencies again and again, including the FBI, Customs Border Protection, and others, we're the easiest system to use. And that's really critical, because most law enforcement are not in a younger age category that are doing the instruction, right? They're in older age categories, and they need more time and more experience to understand the technology. Our system is also less costly per user. On average, our system is 10 times less costly than the previous technology, the screen simulators. And we're the only system that's truly globally networked. We've already conducted 2 exercises with 6 individuals in 3 countries working together to achieve a common goal. The industry-leading content is critical. I mentioned Centrifuge as a partner, as the vehicle tactics leader in the market. So we're continuing to build on that tradition and create other industry-leading content with mental health experts and experts from fields that are related to law enforcement. Finally, our system is also augmented reality compatible. The reason I named the company Chimera XR, not Chimera VR, is because I'm not staking all my claim on one hardware technology. We think AR and MR are going to play a role. And if anyone's seen the news about the $22 billion that the US Army spent on Microsoft HoloLens, you'll also see that that's a real trend. AR is coming. So all of our software is built with AR compatibility for the eventuality that the prototypes we're working on for AR, MR pan out. How big is the market? So the market is pretty large for simulation and training. It's been an ongoing market for over 25 years, that a line item on everyone's budgets. Virtual reality in particular is a relatively new line item that's coming into the current allocations for North America. So we're targeting $2 billion in North America. That's been verified by a lot of our competition, and it's in the news quite a bit. and $30 million in immediate opportunities. And by that, we mean organizations that are already looking for our solution that don't know that do know that there's a better thing than screen simulators and that need to procure something new. So where we came from, where we're going, 2017, I started looking at prototypes. Working in the military, I'd seen screen simulation fail at increasing situational awareness, increasing officer safety or soldier safety in our case. So I looked in 2017 for that new, better solution, and VR was just coming on the scene. So we spent 3-ish years doing prototyping, talking to the RCMP, all these different agencies, trying to figure out, is this going to work? We finally determined product market fit is there in 2020. We launched a pre-seed round, $300,000 was brought in via private equity in January of last year. In February of last year, we launched our product. Upon launch, we had the RCMP join us, as I mentioned, and since then, we've had $268,000 last year alone in sales, and this year we have $86,000 so far in sales. We're planning to end the year around $1 million, and we're going to continue growing from there as Canada's only virtual reality first responder training company. So a little bit about how we're planning to extend past the next year. So as we grow in this current phase of taking in hopefully a seed round of funding, that's what we're doing now. We're raising $2 million in a seed round. It's to build out the de-escalation profile. I mentioned a little bit earlier, verbal de-escalation is the critical next path for us that we have to take in order to increase officer safety and attack parts of the market, approach them that we haven't yet approached. So that means hiring, of course, software experts, a CTO, and for the business development side, we need a grants expert. Grants are increasingly the way that our competition is getting business, and we haven't done enough in that realm. So we're going to look at hiring a grants expert to bring in more revenue. There's also this consumer version that we're planning to execute next year. Consumer version of our products would mean accessing an entirely new market. And that's something that we're going to do carefully, but that could really do more than double our revenue as the years continue. Part of that is a consumer marketplace, sort of like the metaverse for our industry, right? We don't have a way for our industry, either in the manufacturing sectors, the accessories, or the training side, to interact using virtual reality yet. And we are planning to be that interaction for consumers to talk to these manufacturers and these retailers, as well as the trainers through our software. So we plan to build our valuation up, hitting $13 million revenue in 2025 with $3 million in recurring revenue from software subscriptions as we strive to become a program of record. Why that's an important goal is because programs of record in the military and law enforcement world means it's a federally mandated budgeted item that happens year on year and is going to continue for 5 to 10 years, depending on the contract. So it really secures our place in the field. I mentioned the de-escalation, the verbal de-escalation piece, and the mixed reality prototyping that we're doing to ensure that we have a solution there. The content marketplace is a huge one because we'll create a new sales channel for us that we don't already have, including having celebrities in our industry that we've already pitched to and successfully started partnerships with, having them resell our product or sell their services through our product. The consumer version I mentioned, but intelligent coaching is the real category that we're trying to create. So simulation, as historically has been, is not an effective scalable solution. Intelligent coaching, we believe, is that solution. And I'll explain in a minute a bit more about intelligent coaching. So the team that we've built is military and law enforcement experts, and then backed with the best possible software team from people who've worked on AAA titles, worked with Microsoft, engineers who've worked in prototyping and robotics. We have an ex-IBMer. We have David, who's raised from Sequoia. We've got a real powerhouse of talent advising us and helping us with everything from staffing to critical choices. So we're raising currently $2 million for 25% of our company in order to scale our demonstration units, because 80% of people who try our system buy our system. And then, of course, building out our team for sales. And I'll end with this. So here's what I believe. 25 years of simulation has not changed. We're going to change this in a significant way by creating individual coaching through the virtual reality and augmented reality headsets that will allow us to really scale the efforts of individual law enforcement instructors. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to your questions.
cool, technology that, I'm sure there's going to be people wanting to check it out after.
Yeah, feel free to put the heads on.
Who's got a question, Stephen?
So two questions. The first one more of a clarifying question. Of the revenue, how much of that is for the hardware sales versus a software?
Yeah, so it's a bundled sale. So we sell a system between $10,000 and $20,000 depending on the configuration.
Okay, and then the second question is, tell us more about the content side of it. I feel like there's more to that. So are you developing it? You mentioned that there's like cross collaboration happening on content. Curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we develop content in-house, but we also bring in experts in individual fields that are creating their own modules. So just like a lot of online learning, this is essentially the next evolution of that, where they have some kind of online content sometimes already, but they're looking to bring their digital content into a new medium and expand what they can do with that content to include things they couldn't do before. So for example, assessments of certain kinds are usually not just theoretical, but physical. So very difficult to do a physical assessment just on a PowerPoint presentation that I've clicked through. This is now that next realm where we see our collaborators are not only trying to sell their content on a remote basis, but also engage live with different agencies.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me a little bit more about the planning for the consumer version. You sort of glossed over that a little bit, or short on time. Just curious to hear a little bit more about how you're planning to roll that out, how it plays into where your development is going to focus, et cetera.
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, the consumer version needs to fit in a specific package because it has to fit under a certain price point in order to be accessible to that market. And so essentially, it'll be like a light version of our current software. And our current software team has already figured out how they're going to branch the software off from that in order to make sure that it is its own products. It's not going to, it can't distract from our other opportunities, but at the same time, we know someone eventually will do that. We'll create a consumer version. And because we have a new hardware prototype in the works right now that's very low cost, we believe that we have the perfect kind of marriage of a low cost hardware component and a relatively low cost software component to allow the average person to train with their firearms and things like home defense or other mediums.
I thought about just licensing that to the gaming company rather than sort of taking focus away to a different segment entirely.
Yes, but because we're talking about training, there's kind of like a line in the sand here where the consumer version is still going to be about training. There's an entertainment value for sure, but it's not a game. It's about people improving their safety with their, everything from their individual protection to home defense.
Yeah. Can you expand on how you sell to government agencies? Because it's tough, and you have to get to a certain place where you become a preferred supplier. But is it a land and expand? Do they have other folks that are trying at the same time? Are you competing with your competitors at the same time in the same company?
Yeah, that's a great point. So land and expand is exactly what's happening. Those demonstration units really help us do that. So we're the only company that can really simply ship out a unit. Everyone else has computers and cameras and all kinds of stuff. We just ship out a box that fits in the overhead of a plane. They set it up in a couple of minutes with us on Zoom, and then they trial it for 5 days, and they send it back. So we have a very good conversion rate, over 80% of agencies that try it and they're buying it. And because it's priced under $10,000, it's a credit card swipe, which allows them to start with the product, build their policies around it, and then write the requirements for the bigger tenders that come out later. We do have to go head to head sometimes. I did pitch head to head recently to a federal agency with other companies there. But again, we still win on some of the core values, which is we have the best, most realistic system for ballistics, like you saw on the screen there. Our system is the easiest to use, the most portable, and the most cost effective.
Thanks for a great presentation. I just want to tell you it's very important when you're pitching to bring your prototype, because that makes a huge difference. And I think it's very important. I think there's two things I want to ask you. Have you seen your product make a difference? And have you seen people, agencies tell you, look, your products made a difference to us? As number one, the satisfaction they found, and can you do it better? Can your product be improved? I just want to ask.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think any product can be improved. Certainly, we are relatively early on. The clients that we have about 15 clients in Canada, the US, and UK. And most of them are just beginning to use the system. So we have some early indicators that, for example, we've made their lives easier, for example, by saying they wouldn't have otherwise been able to train around vehicles in the classroom setting before they went and did it their one shot live. So this allowed them to really make sure that they were online. Everybody was on the same page before doing a high risk training event later on. We've had a couple pieces of feedback like that. And then, of course, the feedback from training companies that say, this is making sure that we can get our students through more curriculum sooner. Thanks.
I think that's it, guys. What a great. And they brought toys, so it's really cool. I don't know, maybe it shows my age, but I remember watching Dirty Harry, and there was that scene where they go into this situation and like a thing comes up and you got to decide whether to shoot or it's a woman with a carriage, and they got all these live things in a room like this, and you got to decide whether you shoot. So it's pretty interesting to me to see that evolution. Our next presenter is K-Sport. What's the theme? Well, let's do, so we're gonna do Smart Cocoon and figure out what happened to a key. I've seen this one a couple times. I think I could do the presentation. Well, more toys.
Yes.
So Esan Hiramati, Smart Cocoon.
Hello, everyone.
Just give it a second while the judges do their judging. Get you set up. Down is up.
Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. This is Esan Hiramati. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Smart Cocoon. We are an AI-driven climate control system, and what we've defined, louder. Okay, what we've defined to be as our vision statement is that we're passionate about creating climate comfort for indoor environments while reducing energy footprint. So the problem that we've solved is a problem that a lot of you are probably familiar with. In a typical multi-story home in North America, there's a significant temperature difference between different levels of the property and also between different rooms. And really the main reason of it is that there are usually only about one thermostat in the room and no zoning features there. As my co-founder Kaveh here in the audience always says, not having zoning for your house is essentially very much like the situation where you have only one switch to turn on or turn off all of the lights of the property. So what are people using today? In room heaters, ceiling fans, they may be adjusting thermostat. They can be for different periods of the day. They may be using the inline duct fans or that requires professional setup and new or stronger HVAC systems or ductless systems that they actually may be putting for the room. There has been, it has been about 15 to 20 years that legacy booster fans existed out there, and people are having to use it. So what we've created is the first ever smart booster fan. It's a device that has some electronic components in there. Some, I have an example here for you. There are some chips inside, microprocessors and the sensors that are exposed to the top and also bottom of the device. Thank you very much.
And it has Wi-Fi connectivity and the Bluetooth connectivity. And as you can see, it actually hangs off of the vent and also goes on the so just essentially invisible. And we set them up at the opening in the vents and where you want to regulate or fix a lower flow issue. So again, this is a platform that fits right into the existing ducting system. If you set up a bunch of them together, you will have a microzoning climate control platform. It allows you to control the room temperature. It automatically syncs with the conventional and the smart thermostats. It has scheduling features. And it also, in time, would be checking for the occupancy of the room or the area that we're in. Last but not the least, we're providing on average 30% saving on the energy consumption of the HVAC system. To give you a perspective of the economical and also the environmental benefits of this technology, there are 5.2 million homes in Ontario, 3.2 million of which are the type of properties that we want to go after. And if we only save an average of 30%, that gives you 12.5 billion in savings. The traction, we started launching, we actually launched a product last year. We kickstarted back in April of 2021. We sold 1,100 units in 7 days. We then had a few retail contracts and the retail partnerships, and we essentially sold another 1,400 units through Home Depot, Home Hardware, Amazon, and our shopping platform. We also recently signed a deal with Best Buy Canada, and also Doors USA, and those two are going on. Because of the COVID and the challenges in supply chain, we actually created an inventory pipeline of another 12,000 units that we purchased all the electronic components, and another 11,000 units that the pipeline for it. Market size, there are 125 million homes in North America, 85 million of which are the type of properties that we want to go after, and those are the type of properties that are multi-story and have a central Air Force HVAC system. Force Air HVAC systems, and if we only capture 5% of that market, and we only sell 2 of these units, that's going to give us a potential revenue of about $1.1 billion. We're obviously not the only ones that are trying to tackle and fix this issue. There are many different types of technology, and at the bottom of the screen you see the smart dampers, and essentially the main difference between what they do and what we do is the way that we manage the air. So smart dampers, as we call them, are passively managing the airflow. So if you, for example, need more airflow into one of the rooms in the upper floor, you need to have a few of these dampers in your main floor, close them down, and then you're pushing the air up into the upper floor. And that's essentially a probability that you can do that. And you may not be able to manage it properly because the ducting systems are actually closed loops. And if you're closing down a few, you don't have much of the control of where you're pushing the air onto. Whereas the legacy booster fans and smart cooling, they're actively managing the airflow, which means wherever you need to regulate the room temperature or fix the lower flow issue, you set up one, and those devices are sucking the air onto those environments and essentially manage. Amongst all of the competitors out there, we know that we are the most efficient, effective. We're the most effective solution to fix the lower flow issue. We are providing the most significant amount of energy saving when we can actually regulate the temperature better. We have manufactured 2 different sizes of this device, so we're selling them one-time fee of $130 today. We do have some possibilities to monetize our data, and that's really because of the fact that we can measure the amount of airflow at the depth level, so we can tell you if the air filter is dirty or not. We can tell you if the efficiency of the system is declining over time, and that may require you to call out for a maintenance professional. And also we can tell you if the gas pressure on the cooling unit is low. So we could be providing this dashboard to the HVAC contractors and HVAC maintenance companies that would allow them to not only provide recurring services and also be able to perform predictive maintenance. Also in time, we're going after industrial and commercial properties that have a massive market. We have a multifaceted go-to-market strategy. Today, we're selling online. We're also selling through the retailers. We're also going after the HVAC contractor companies, HVAC professionals, service providers, also smart home installers, and also we're also communicating and having a lot of discussion with the home builders, design and contractors to basically build our device as part of the design of the technology. The reason that we wanted to have that feature, by the way, is that if you look at the shelves of these smart home devices out there, you see 3 different main categories: pack, conserve, and enjoy. And we properly fall right into the energy saving and energy efficiency, and also improving comfort. We sold the total of 2,500 units last year as of December 2021. We're aiming for another 12,000 units to be sold this year. And also for 2023, we're hoping to sell another 30,000 units. And by the way, this is the most conservative number that we could come up with. Hopefully with the brand recognition and building the relationships with the retailers, hopefully we can push these numbers beyond. A lot of you may actually know that the Nest and the Ecobee of the world are providing those auxiliary temperature sensors that goes into different rooms, but they essentially can't do anything with it. They can take an average to say, adjust the thermostat with, let's say, an average of 2 rooms in the upper floor, or adjust with a certain area of the property for a different period of the day. And so then they essentially can't control where they're pushing the airflow out. As we are positioning for the integration with those type of technologies, we're positioning to make our device as the arm, to operate as the arms and the legs of the smart thermostats to essentially have providing options. A lot of our customers are asking for home automation integration. Essentially, they want to be able to say, I need more airflow for the dining room because there are too many people there and are starting to sweat. And obviously, as we mentioned, we're going after multi-billion-dollar commercial and industry. Our provisional IP has so many broad claims that makes it that allows us to make this a platform. And there are so many claims in there that actually keeps us ahead of the computer as well. It's the next step. My educational background is in computer science. I've had 2 successful exits before, and also I've been an angel investor and also and my co-founder is a mechanical engineer. He's also certified manufacturing engineer. Also is the entrepreneur. Our president, Dr. Lee, comes from electronic manufacturing experience of over 25 years. Chris Milden, our business development and strategy, and one of our earliest champions from almost the inception of the company. He comes from 25 years of insurance experience, and he knows a lot of property managers and industry leaders to be able to open up the business. Ross also comes from consumer packaged goods, and the highlight of his experience has been that he was a VP at Canada for over 20 years, and also been a leader at the stock level roll and fast screens. We are anticipating a few exit options for us, either be acquired by the Ecobees and the Nest of the world, the smart thermostat companies, or also possibly by HVACs. We're raising $1 million in bridge round before raising our round A. And the distribution of the capital and how we're going to be deploying it is that's what we're showing on this slide. And as you can see, the significant portion of it will go to the sales and marketing because we think that we have had some attempts and research and development. In summary, why we think you, ladies and gentlemen, should be picking us for investing in us is that we are, this is a platform. We're going after millions of homes, offices, properties, industrial properties that do not have any microzoning. Okay? And also, last but not the least, we think we can help saving our planet because 50 to 65% of all the energy that is consumed in the buildings actually goes into the building. Thank you.
Heard of a marriage made in heaven. This is a marriage made at TIEQuest.
Yes.
So Ehsan and Chris were both TIEQuest volunteer judges in whatever it was 2019, and met the founder. Sorry, I forgot your name. Met Kaveh in his first round pitch, and here we are 3 years later, almost 4 years later. So another sort of TIEQuest success story. Questions, judges?
Happy to get the ball rolling. Tell us a bit more of how the sell-through was at the real estate, the retail locations. Did they reorder after? Did it? So yeah, just tell us a bit more about that.
But first, we are only selling online in those retailers because during the COVID, they did not want to take any new vendors onto the floor. But Ross actually had a lot of connections for us, and so this is an ongoing relationship and has stuff.
Did they sell through as they were hoping to? Are they?
I believe so. This is a new product and entirely, I can't say entire category, but there hasn't been like a smart home. And yes, legacy booster fans existed, but we don't belong to either of the categories.
Yeah, just to build on that. So just for clarity, so when I think about Best Buy, they have their marketplace, and their marketplace, you get immediate 100% sell through because people it's the end consumer that's affecting the purchase. So are these sell through relationships in the sense that each of those units that was sold, it was the end consumer that bought it, or are those in the channel? I think that's what Sarita was getting at.
Best Buy is the latest edition, so just in a few days. But essentially, people search specifically for these type of devices and find them either through keywords that we do offsite at the Best Buy and the Home Depot of the world, or essentially look for booster fans and we show up as one of the options. Does that answer your question?
Thanks.
Sorry.
Is this always an aftermarket purchase, or could you be in at the builder level? I'm wondering about rebates with government, since energy efficiency, all that sort of stuff.
Great question. So those are the things that Chris is actually leading. We are talking to developers and builders, and there is actually a huge amount of appetite to do that. This is what a lot of property managers and builders are telling us. The issue that we're trying to fix is the first issue that they ever get a problem. So property managers are fed up with the complaints, and they usually have people coming in doing different things. And one of the things interesting things that I recently heard, I haven't validated, but I spoke to one of the senior executives at one of these HVAC service providers, and they said the line item for the ductless, systems units that are set up in rooms to fix this issue is $400 million for them every year cluster. The problem has been validated, and people are just essentially.
Just to follow up, how many units do people typically buy? Are they just working at a problem room, or are they buying them for the whole house and having them all communicate?
Very good question. So for the most part today, average of 2. What we are hearing or we're getting inquiries about sending on the costs all across.
Thanks. I'm just wondering, did you talk on the cost of your product and the margins with, and are the installation costs to install this thing Or is it just a plug and play?
So the cost of manufacturing of 5,000 unit batches is about $48 today. We're trying to bring it down to about 20-25 using bigger batches. We're selling at 130, and the average margin that we're paying is about 15 to 25%, depending on the outlet that we're selling to. Sorry, what was the other?
The installation.
Installation is a 5 to 10 minutes do it yourself. 95% plus of our customers have been able to do it.
Just to comment, I have one, they sent me one to check out and I set it up, so it's literally idiot.
I think the next pitch you should have judges each free ones for each judge.
Absolutely. I'll take your email address and send you one. Absolutely.
You have to plug them in.
Yes.
And so you had said DC. Curious why.
It's adapter that goes to the AC and the. You got it.
I think that's our time, so. Akeem, you made it. So we're gonna get you, come on, this is taste board, Akeem. Smiley.
Hey, Jeff.
All right, good to see you. This is for you. The bottom is up, down is up. That's up. Be on one side.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. Well, it's great to be here in person. Oh, there's a ton of you, all you guys tonight. I'm Akeem, by the way, CEO at Tasteport. Thanks again for everyone who's just taking a chance to hear our story. Hope to get to meet you all after and as we chat, have dinner and everything, and get to hear yours later. Without further ado, I'll get into what we're building at Tasteport. So at Tasteport, our tech platforms and ecosystem, we help specialty grocers deliver fully loaded e-grocery experiences. So you can finally get the thousands of diverse products that you just can't find at big box stores, finally available for fresh, same-day delivery. With this, we enable Canadians like us to then access the thousands of unique ingredients, not just from different cultures, but also from different lifestyles, like diverse Indian and European meats, but also products like organics to kosher, and essentially all this authentic, diverse selection that was never previously available all in one single place before finally is. As a problem we found is impacting over 10 million Canadians from different places across the nation. We at Tasteport want to bring this accessibility to us all. And understand why this has been so challenging for grocers to date. Let's step into the world of the independent grocer. So imagine working about 7 days per week, worrying about $100,000 of product expiring next month, and then having to deal with the supply chain chaos of 20 months. Sounds a bit overwhelming. Now, On top of that, rapid demand spikes and billions invested by big box grocers have been raising e-commerce standards themselves like crazy. And so as a result, they've revealed some major problems existing in your own quite basic in general online grocery offerings as that individual independent specialty grocery. The most prevalent problem of all that we found is that about 83% of modern shoppers want the same product variety and availability as in store, but most still aren't able to find that online. And see, the reason is you can imagine as a grocer, you have these thousands of different SKUs, but unfortunately, your suppliers don't actually have all of these products ready to go in HD digital formats. And so as a result, you're only able to get a fraction of your store actually online. Now, on top of this, with your 1,000 SKUs, many of them are actually perishable, meaning their stock and images are actually also constantly changing off the shelves, meaning you're usually always behind on updating the hundreds of manual updates that are required almost as soon as they happen. Compound this with other problems like that 80% of modern shoppers now expect same-day grocery delivery, and 75% actually shop at multiple grocers to get their full selection. So now, standing out with digital marketing, plus handling all the components of online grocery with any hope of reasonable ROI, that is nearly impossible for most specialty grocers to do alone. This is where we come in. So today, Tasteport is solving all this and more with our DFY ecosystem. How? Well, first, we've actually built a specialty product catalog ourselves with those SKUs, as I mentioned, 50,000 of them that are super hard for non-tech savvy grocers to procure and get ready. In addition, this master specialty product database is then paired with e-com portals as well as inventory platform. So now grocers don't just get a fraction of that fully loaded store, but the actual fully loaded store ready to go at the push of a button. The best part for us is we can actually take the catalog and platforms that we built anywhere, making it a grocery store loading machine that does a job 10 times cheaper anywhere in the world. It's finally the Shopify for grocers that they've been looking for, but supercharged. From day one, these specialty grocers can then also tap into our many integrations, like leveraging our same-day delivery network to deliver fresh groceries economically, even up to condos, or they can leverage our staff platform that we've built alongside advisors with experience in places like Loblaws and Walmart e-commerce to save upwards of 25% of time and therefore cost filling every single one. After our grocers launch, our platform also saves them tons more in multiple online areas that they used to struggle massively with. For example, we've built auto price and auto stock sync tools that have helped automate inventory work, previously taking them over 30 hours per month to do manually. This now gives them 75% efficiency gains even after they launch with us. We also save them on other things like filling orders with our features like our tech grouping the items that customers order into the most efficient route through that store to get them filled, and even rescue margins by being able to update the bill unlimited times with substitute products or weight changes that are required for handling e-grocery effectively. Together, these are huge. With all these pieces being DFYs, grocers can now be empowered at every step of their e-grocery journey, right from day one all the way to successful scale. Together, these platforms not just save them thousands per month and maximize margins, they also skyrocket LTV as well as retention, providing experience much, much beyond what any specialty grocery shopper has felt before. The platforms that we've built, they're heavily in by the small to mid-sized grocers who want to keep up with the rapid shift in demand to literally now everyone wanting home delivery. North America actually has over 39,000 non-chain independent stores, and of the 870 billion that the entire industry moves yearly, this small to mid-sized space is actually still a gigantic 280 billion, and 36 billion as well in Canada. Being the fastest growing segment, Amazon and others have found studies indicating that online grocery penetration will reach about 25% by about 2025, meaning it's going to be over a 9 billion niche in Canada alone. Even being one of the top 5 players here at a 10 to 15% market capture is still over $1 billion share, making this market niche worthwhile to start in a relatively recession-proof industry that people naturally shop in on a monthly basis. Right now with our target clients, we make about a 15% commission plus fees on each transaction. We get about 5 to 7% from the grocers and 8 to 10% from the shoppers. While competitors, they charge about 20-25%, and people pay for that today. What this shows is right now in our quite specific niche, there is a clear path at this price point to reach over 200 million net revenue in just Canada with just this one stream per year. At this point, you might be wondering, how could we offer better pricing than the competition, right? And the reason is other options like Instacart, Corner Shop, and more, they're running into some major problems that exist with the gig economy personal shoppers that they use to fill orders. So we kind of talked about our proprietary tech advantages and how they're all specifically built for specialty grocers to support them and are very customized to their needs. But in addition, from a model perspective, we really try to stand out operationally compared to what these gig workers are doing there. So here's how it works. Personal shoppers are essentially these gig workers that will go back and forth between multiple different grocers to actually fill their orders. So grocers we now work with have reported they actually couldn't identify huge sections of their stores. So to give you an example, imagine if my friends Kim and Ann, who are Korean, they come to an Indian or South Asian store. They might not know what some Indian products are, right? Like idli, poha, pani puri, etc. Same thing might happen if I go to a Korean store. So it's not too much difference, right? Naturally, since they don't know these products, grocers have reported these gig workers will actually not just take longer to fill orders, but they would mark items actually available up on the shelves as out of stock because they couldn't find them or identify them. This is what both consumers and grocers hate the most. Our platforms come in and solve this. By integrating with any store workflow and inventory, we let the staff know the store's language and usually the products best fill these orders. Where others try to cut them out of the equation, we focus on empowering them. What this allows TasteSport to do is together offer massive different benefits of a specialty and ethics selection that you just can't get at big box stores, support grocers they need with deliveries and technology. But what's unique is we allow the manager and staff to control their brand quality, optimize that process, and as a result, give far better quality customer experiences while passing on end savings to the final users. As a result, they've tried different methods, web, email, phone, etc., and then they've switched to Facebook, over 70% of them, and they've stayed ever since. Now, where are we today with all that we've built and what we've done? Today, before even taking $1 million in investment, we've already signed 23 clients. The average is 6,000 square foot. And unlike the perception many have of specialty stores being small mom and pop bake shops, most are actually quite large. In fact, many of our clients are big enough that they have hot food or bakery sections inside it. In addition, on the sales side, we've helped jump our grocery average baskets from just 35 to 50 in store to over 83 online. That's an average 67% or more basket increase for them. Overall, we're also on pace for over 550% CAGR, reaching 24,000, but actually 30,000 per month at 360,000 annualized in the book sales category. We've received from our community now dozens of 5-star reviews and also are beyond 1,000 customers, with thousands of users also signed up in many other regions. For example, Montreal, Ottawa, and other key areas who are really excited to be part of the movement to support these local stores. And we'll also see TasteSport live in their regions or at their favorite store next. Finally, we're the primary delivery partner for our grocers, which means we're adding enough value between the 65% basket jump I mentioned and 25% cost fulfillment savings that they actually want to promote us as their top partner. To see a live example, usually you don't see a vendor on the front page of the store site. But if you head to one of our partners right now, like IndianPunjabiBazaar.com, you would see exactly that. TasteSport on the front page with a funnel that actually links to our app and our site to make all their customers choose us when they want deliveries. Our team's retail tech and startup experience has definitely helped us reach where we are today. For example, I was one of the first 10 employees at the YC incubated tech marketplace company, Fixed Mobile Mechanics. It was actually a Dragon's Den recently got acquired and they used to work here at OneEleven, so it is good to be back. Our CTO, David, he is actually
been the tech lead in ad tech startup and then a 5.5 million fund from RBC Capital Partners, as well as he was the most recent, he was the chief architect and second employee at a startup where they went from 0 to $1 million revenue in a year. Our team supported by advisors across the grocery, CPG, marketing, and tech industries like Tony and Gala. Tony, he ran Weston Produce, an Italian grocery chain that did 100 million in sales and got acquired by Randall's. And Gavin, he actually runs a multicultural marketing firm that creates ethnic campaigns for clients that include Walmart, Febreze, and even McDonald's today. We're really fortunate to work with a group like this, and thanks to our relationship advantages along with technology and growth, this has helped us raise over 300,000 to date in our current round, as well as not just from accredited investors, but also from institutional investors. Our investors include experts in the retail and tech sectors with experience in e-grocery, being part of 9-figure exits, founders who scaled tech companies from 0 to 200 million that IPO, and those in groups like Equation and Navigations. This is in addition to more investors also being part of what we're building for Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, and other key expansion areas that we plan to move into as well. They believe and see the opportunity for this 280 billion space in their own regions. And now we're looking forward to working together to fuel these opportunities we see bubbling up literally every day. With the funds that we're closing and our new investor-backed insights, we're looking to now set up this quarter to make a run at the following targets. We plan to 4 to 5x our B2B spend to hit 125 stores live, as well as use our proven and repeatable sales cycle to also onboard them faster with the new upgrades we plan to put in. Next, looking at our B2B unit economics, we've achieved and already proven out 2,000 per month per store, about 25,000 per year per client. So now we're looking at 4x that client or paid marketing spend, help the average client hit about 4,000 per month. And so even if we can only conservatively bring this group of 125, only 60% of them, so about 75 grocers, to this 4,000 per month mark, that's still 300,000 per month book sales, helping us hit that key target over 12 to 15 months. Looking at this in the context of our long-term growth path, this 300,000 per month multiplied by 12 is 3.6 million annualized. Taking the average 17.5% between the 15% plus fees in our transaction model, our net order revenue would be about 630K at that point. This milestone is major, as after analyzing comparable revenue multiples and exits in the space, they're about 18 to 40x net revenue. This means that 630K would allow us to hit about a 12 million valuation, raise again, and be set up for about a 300% increase from today's current valuation. But what it demonstrates even more is with this current model, after we perfect this, we can literally take this same model of 125 and just replicate it 4 more times across North America. And as we get to 675 live and 415 grocers at 5,000 per month, this will actually let us generate 25 million book sales, bring us right in the range of 100 million valuation at the 4 million per month net take rate, and more excitingly, reach profitability. Finally, shooting far out, we can see long-term now, every 1,000 new stores, this is 120 million additional book sales, as well as 21 million net order revenue, showing there's a massive place to play with the 39,000 grocers in North America alone. Now, we have covered a lot, right? But if there's one side to watch, it's this one as a recap and takeaway. Right now, we have a solution that can launch grocer clients 500% faster, give 75% efficiency gains on setting up and running e-grocery, as well as create a 65% basket boost on each order. They are now showing us that these are so valid clients that they are actually putting us on their own channels. And they're driving us new B2B as well as B2C referrals for free. With these value adds, a scalable ecosystem, and a sales cycle we've proven out over a dozen clients, we can rocket towards our goals, 125 grocers, 300,000 per month book sales, and given we have over 50 already in the pipeline, and investors who are excited to support us in these key regions that we want to expand to, we're really looking forward to taking this even further beyond these targets. Now, if this traction, vision of empowering these grocers to thrive in a digital age so millions can finally access these cultural essentials, or any other part of what we're building sounds exciting, definitely would love to talk after, hear your ideas and thoughts too, your favorite stores, foods, etc., and just get together and get connected around all this. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Presentation, Keith.
Well done. Judges? Darryl?
Just curious if you mentioned everything except delivery. Who does the delivery and who pays for that? Is that out of your 15 or is that on top?
So right now, we actually, when we were starting out, there weren't super strong models for the e-grocery perspective, right? In terms of delivering perishables that are heavyweight and up to condos. So we wanted to build that infrastructure ourselves first. So we actually worked with legal advisors, operational advisors to build out our own independent contractor network, similar to how they have for the food delivery space, but more customized to e-grocery. So that's what we've done to start. But as a result, we've now seen, thanks to COVID and the pandemic, that more solutions are actually coming out that have these like features and capacity in place. So since we have a lot already to build and focus on with many, many platforms, we have 5 different platforms, right? We want to focus on what's unique, very much the grocery experience, and then probably work with third-party delivery partners to scale. This kind of strategy we've been working on with our investors. I think what really sets us apart though, long-term will be the fact that since we built our own independent contractor network first, we actually have the tech components and operational know-how of what to look for in quality third-party key partners, as well as we can scale ourselves if we need to start up in regions.
How does geography affect your, like you, one guy lives in Toronto, another one in Scarborough, Mississauga. Does that impact your delivery and does a concentration of customers make it an important factor for you?
So right now, yeah, we do set it up in terms of our like drivers by like districts or regions. So like ones that will be set up for like just focusing on like a Scarborough or Toronto area, like that pocket, while other ones be focused on say Mississauga and like Etobicoke, and then another group might be focused on say Brampton, etc. Right? And so by segmenting these areas, it makes the delivery and the stores the customers access probably the ones that are going to be in that region. So lower cost, more effective deliveries and more affordable. And this has also helped us also segment other parts of the model too, which is now that the operations are working by region, and that's kind of how we like to spread out and focus it. We can also start to target our marketing by region too.
The cost for you, for each customer, how significant is that? And what are the biggest challenges you face going forward?
Great questions. So first off in the cost, so we have 2 components to that. In terms of first acquiring grocer and then onboarding them, that's our B2B cost. We right now are doing it we're setting up, as mentioned, a massive, fully loaded online grocery store for that grocer, all the other key components, including the tablet, et cetera, the devices they need for literally under 1.5K. We expect that cost to drop even further over time. Right now, we make that back within the first year, as well as then each future year, not 1,700 in profit, but 1,700, not 1,700 in sales, as I said, we're at 25,000 right now. But if we have 25,000 in book sales or 2,000 per month, like we're achieving today, that's actually 1,700 in profit, meaning we're making profit on that client every single year after we've paid that initial cost off. So we have that B2B cost, which is the main cost, right? If we don't charge them any onboarding fee. And then on top of that, we also have a small CAC cost for the individual customer. This usually pays itself off after a few orders. It's an average about $30 to $35, right? So between both, they usually get covered in the first year. And then each additional year is now just pure profit. And that profit, the exciting part is it can scale because as their sales scale, right, pass from 2,000 per month, maybe 5,000 per month, 10,000 per month, as we're achieving with some of our better clients, our profit also scales per client. Oh, and did you have that other question, challenges too? You want to know that?
Yeah.
So for our challenges and what we focus on next, I think the big thing that we looked at, and I have to talk with some of our investors and advisors too, is as we start to take ourselves to multiple regions, right? And more grocers that are further apart from each other, finding first faster ways to get them going from 0 to their first initial sets of sales, helping them out, even the ones that are not so good at marketing, right? Finding our own key components to get them set up, moving faster. I think that's one part we're already building and focusing on right now. But really, as we start to scale, not just making the marketing and other parts more efficient, region by region and store by store level, we really want to focus on keeping the support and customer experience across like maybe dozens of different grocers that all could have varying levels of interest, staff, et cetera, right? We want to keep the experience and the quality at a very high standard. So we're looking to like focus very heavily on that customer experience component to retain our shoppers month by month, right? By putting in SOPs and standards and playbooks that the grocers can follow and start in training, but also just little tools actually within the platforms we build that kind of coach them along the way while they use the platforms and learn them to make it very simple for the staff to get educated and learn from scratch, even if they don't know how to for e-commerce, how to give that quality e-grocery experience without costing us lots and lots of money on trainers. So this is kind of some of the key things we're focusing on as we scale across different regions and yeah, plan to make our brand hopefully an exciting and trustable one across Canada.
I think we're out of time, guys. So you've seen 6. You know how tough a job the judges have. So Matt, you want to take your colleagues and deliberate? So guys, I thought we were going to have a video, but we don't. So at the risk of losing you, go get something to drink, get something to eat, and come back here in 8 minutes. Sounds good. All right.
So it wasn't like really direct.
Give me a number.
That develops like what I do. Great. Another thing like the water, like it don't. Yes.
But this was the point, like, where you go, we met, but I, what they do that, so I got almost drop, I gotta drop out of the shop. I gotta take out my name. Your family? The first name? What's the 111?
Okay, guys. By the way, it's 2-0 for the Leafs. Drum roll. Okay, guys,
Yeah.
I know as soon as I announce the winner, I will go back and get something to eat and drink, so I'm going to kind of go out of order a little bit. Because I want to thank our judges. They sat here through 6 really excellent presentations. Had to pick one. I know from anecdotally that they almost came to a fist fight, but apparently it was civil. But really, thanks to Smita and to Claudio and Daryl and Shiraz and Matthew, wherever he is. I guess he's getting his drink or something. But really, thank you guys. We couldn't do it without you. I want to thank our sponsors. Obviously, OneEleven for hosting us here today. Silicon Valley Bank, Fasken, my firm. I don't know if you noticed, but we were the top VC firm in Canada in 2021. So without sort of going too far and blowing my own horn, when I started at Fasken 10 years ago, there were 3 lawyers doing startup work. Today we have almost 90 across the country. So I'm not completely responsible for it, but I do take a lot of pride in starting it and trying to get this thing off the ground. Thanks to the City of Toronto, Bayless Medical, First Angel Capital, BDO, Startup Toronto, Hockey Stick, Engia Ventures, Bond Consulting, and our partners OCI, Eco, and Biz Planner. Where are we going? Okay. You've heard from our finalists. You know it's a tough job. I asked the judges just for one winner because, you know, you already saw how close these companies are, and the difference between first and sixth is like nothing. So what we came down to apparently, and I was not in there, but 2 companies came sort of head to head, and there was some wrestling going on trying to figure it out. So what I'm going to do is announce the second place winner, and then the first place winner, and then the other 4 will be tied for third. Okay, so just so we're clear on what's going to unfold here. In second place, Magnustone. Everybody, there's a gift for every presenter, which from SVP, which of SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, which Daryl will hand out. And there's also a gift for the winner. The winner, drum roll. Can stand. This is for you guys, but you also actually, Daryl, congratulations. Well, thank you. Great. Congratulations. Yeah. No, it's, I just want to remind everybody. I want to put the fries. I just wanted to review quickly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So just to remind
Something to
everybody,
enjoy and celebrate.
they're winning a prize, TIEQuest or TIE Angels are going to be looking at $100,000 investment. Tangential Ventures is giving all of the winners, so it'll be, $3,000 or $4,000 each of services. Everyone gets a credit with Fasken, BDO. They're all going to go and go to TIECon in Silicon Valley in May if you want to go. It's a great opportunity. You'll become TIE members through this and participate in the TIE 50 competition. And of course, some in-kind services by Bond Consulting. That's it, guys. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the evening. Congratulations to all presenters. This is my last year as chair. I'm going to be around. I'm not going anywhere, but after 8 years, I just decided we needed some succession. So one of my colleagues, Hashim Ghazi, I think many of you know and met, is going to take over from a Fasken perspective. So for me, this has been a real labor of love. I mean, those of you who've been around TIEQuest know that I put my heart and soul into it, and it's been really a lot of fun for me and been really gratifying. So I just, on a personal note, I just wanted to thank all the volunteers who helped us over the years. And most importantly, I want to thank Kanchan and Yashvi. Kanchan is one of our board members. He's been our tech guy, making sure that it went smoothly 2 weeks in a row, 2 different environments with 2 different tech stacks. And so thank you to Kanchan. And Yashvi makes this whole thing happen. She's our executive director. She's a volunteer. We look good, get all the credit, but it's really all Yashvi. So
And Jeff, just for the presenters that haven't gotten anything from Danielle and I, come see us after.